It has been passed into law. Um, I've been seeing videos online of people singing, people trying to learn, and all of that. The fact that it is law means it is law. We do not have a choice, but of course, do what the government says. In terms of the lyrics, if I'm being honest with you, I've not bothered to look past the first or second lines of the new national anthem. At almost 44, I think one of my biggest problems in life at this point in time is how I'm going to get money to feed my family and money to actually pay my children's school fees. Trust me, as a 44-year-old man, or almost 44-year-old man, I'm not particularly, and this is me being honest with you, I'm not particularly certain that one of my biggest priority right now is learning a new national anthem 40 plus years after, or almost 40 years after I learned, what I learned in primary school. Now, we can argue all about patriotism, and all of that. We can have that argument back and forth, But my only worry about the new national anthem, which, by the way, like I said, is law, so you honestly do not have a choice. You have to learn it, or at least you have to respect it. My only worry is the swiftness, how quick it was for the National Assembly to pass it into law. Like, it just happened within a blink of an eye. Pam, 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 boom. They were done. Let me tell you what else has been done like that. Passage of this 2023 supplementary budget. The president gave it to the National Assembly on a Tuesday, sent the letter on a Tuesday. It was read on Wednesday, and it was passed. See the swiftness? See how quick it was? Maybe there's a reason why the supplementary budget was passed a day after it was sent to the National Assembly by the president. Maybe the operating word there, capital maybe. The House approved the sum of 30 billion for severance and inauguration of outgoing and incoming 9th and 10th Assembly as part of that supplementary budget. Yeah, they had budget for a lot of other things, judiciary, security, but I just, this particular part is what interests me. You can call me biased, maybe, but this is what interests me about that supplementary budget. They also passed 33 billion for the National Assembly office. Sorry, for the Senate. 51 billion for the House of Reps. 10 billion for the National Assembly Service Commission. 16 for legislative aids. 118 for the Senate PAC. And of course, 142 for that of the House of Reps. And another 11 billion for general services. This is just a breakdown of things contained in the supplementary budget that was passed just about 2 weeks ago. Watch the swiftness. One day it was read, one day it was passed. But since last year at least, labor unions, the NLC and the TUC, have been drumming it into the ears of the federal government that on April 18th, or is this 16th? I'm mixing the dates up now. 2024, the minimum wage that was signed 5 years ago by the then President Muhammadu Buhari would expire. The president promised to pay 35,000 naira. What do they call it again? Forgotten the name they gave to it. But even that 35,000 naira flat rate, they weren't paying it. It took warning and threats of strikes before the government finally decided to pay that 35,000, something they promised themselves. It took until just about 2 months ago, thereabout, for the federal government to finally set up the committee to discuss the national minimum wage. It took that long. Labour submitted their own plans. It took the government weeks and months before they submitted their own. So, for many of us probably shouting and saying, why is Labour doing this? Why is Labour not doing that? There's a precedent. It's not like government does not know. The Attorney General yesterday made mention of the fact that today's strike is illegal because Labour did not give the mandatory 15 days notice. Okay, the Trade Act of 2004 as amended says so. But Labour has been giving notices, the last time I checked, since 1st of May. They've been telling the government that whatever happens after 31st of May is on you. So why, just before I walked into the studio, federal government confirmed what we had on our news a few minutes ago, that of course there's now going to be an emergency meeting tomorrow between Labour and the federal government. Did we have to go all this far? And by the way, I'm not also absolving Labour from their own issues. Of course, 615,000 naira, or is it 494,000 naira right now, is not realistic. Let's tell ourselves the gospel truth. It is not. I'm pretty certain Labour unions know that. But if you followed negotiations in Nigeria between Labour and the federal government or state governments, they usually go way high because they know that there's going to be a truce somewhere in the middle. So I can tell you for a fact that labor unions know that the country cannot afford to pay them 494 to the lowest cadre. Because of course, when you go higher, it means you're collecting more. Let's also tell ourselves another basic truth. It's something I've witnessed personally. One of the biggest problems we have in Nigeria is not just the politicians who collect large sums of amounts as salaries and bonuses. It is also the large amount of money we pay to civil servants in this country. Let's say it as it is. It is just the gospel truth. You go to federal civil service, you go to state civil service, there are tons and tons, number of people who have no business working. But they come to the office once or twice a week. Sometimes they don't even come. Sometimes they are out of the country and they receive salaries. Will the NLC and the TUC, will they also agree that while they are fighting for this minimum wage, whatever the amount is going to be, will they also accept that there needs to be a cut down of some of those workers who are contributing absolutely nothing to governance, but they're collecting monies for it? Unfortunately, no president or no governor has had the political will to deal with this, especially in states where, civil service is like live wire of the state. Try that and you probably lose election. And then again, let's also ask ourselves another question. Are we really a federal republic? It does feel like we're a federal republic in name. Because tell me why the NLC and TUC would have these negotiations and expect Lagos to pay the same amount of money that a Zamfara will pay. It's not possible. It's not realistic. The last one that was agreed on 5 years ago, how many states are actually paying it? Or maybe this whole conversation about minimum wage is a perfect time for government officials, for politicians to actually reduce the amount of money they collect as salaries and bonuses. So when you're telling the average Nigerian worker that, this is this, you're also showing it by example. The federal government says this conversation is not just about public workers, that it also binds on the private sector. How companies are struggling. How many companies can actually pay 494,000 or 497,000 as minimum wage? Let's just all be realistic. So Lagos, I want to hear what you have to say about the national anthem and what you have to say about this debacle that we have right now. There's going to be a meeting tomorrow, but indeed, what we have is a situation where a strike officially continues. People have been stuck at ports. People have not been able to clear their goods from the ports. People have not gone to school. Excuse me. Lots of businesses have lost considerable amounts of money because of just these few hours of no show. Now, like this, we go today. Lagos 0201 277 0993. 0201 277 1993. 0201 277 2993 and 0201 277 3993. And of course, you can reach us via WhatsApp 080 9597 5805. My name is Ufuoma Egbamuno. This is the Newsroom. Let's talk. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Newsroom. Hello. My producer Emmanuel's village people have come. They have come. That's how they always follow him to my studio every time. Every time. Hello, good evening. Oh, I thought you all had sorted this out. I thought you all had sorted this out. Why are we having this challenge with the phone lines right now? Hello, good evening.
Yeah, Ufuoma.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, welcome back to work.
Thank you. Even though I don't want to be here.
You see, this country is a very funny country. You talked of taking it to approve the new minimum wage, even though they know what they want to pay. Because these people cannot tell me they don't know what they want to arrive at. They know.
They say 60,000.
They know what they want to arrive at. That 60,000 is not what they want to arrive at. And basically speaking, that 600 and something thousand that they are asking for is not realistic, just as you said. It's not realistic. So we should be frank. But 60,000 can never be a living wage or a minimum wage.
I agree.
Yes. If you go by calculation, how much is 60,000 compared to dollar? 60,000 compared to dollar. They carry our calculators and calculate. That's very small money.
So what do you think we should do?
No, it's so far as we don't support the strike. The strike is still the only option.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. The only option. Let's try and see if we can get more thoughts from you, Lagos. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to the Newsroom.
Hello, Nigerian Info.
Welcome.
Ufuoma Egbamuno. This is Babarere calling you directly from Abeokuta.
Welcome, Babarere.
Thank you. You see, the only thing I just want to say is about this national anthem. I believe this APC of the government, they are just deceiving themselves. There is one lyric in the first stanza. They said, though tribes and
tongues may differ,
but in brotherhood we stand. That is Bubu Yaya.
Why do you think so? Why do you think it's Bubu Yaya?
My brother, unless the House, the Senators, the House of Reps, the senior assistants, they now donate about 30% of their salaries and remunerations. Yes, I will now say yes. That lyric, that's words in that first stanza. Yes, they really mean what they are saying. So that is all rubbish. Let them, experiment.
Well, I'm not sure rubbish is actually the right word to use for.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, please, thank you for your apology.
Yes, I apologize because these people think we are just fools. They give us with all this. Look at the rate they brought this issue. Like, they brought out of the blues. They passed it, then the president signed it, which means they have been debating it right from time immemorial. So to me, I want the House of Reps, the senators, the special assistants to do an example. Donate 30% of their salaries and remunerations to Nigeria and say, yes, donate it for the poor masses and say they should do something for the people of Nigeria. So that is why I say, yes, they mean the brotherhood we stand.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good suggestion. I'm just trying to think about the logistics of how that's going to happen. Will that be okay? That's the money we would add to. But let's be honest. The salaries and remuneration of National Assembly members and executives, and all of that is on one hand, they just increased that of judiciary because judiciary was very, very poor. It's on one hand. Let's also agree that the country spends a lot of money from our budget every year to pay civil servants. That's also a fact. Let's go to the phone lines and get more thoughts. A very good evening to you. Welcome to the newsroom. Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good evening to you. Welcome to the newsroom.
So, if you don't come back from flying saucer from Badagry.
I'm back. I'm back from
Oh boy,
playing with birds in Badagry.
you don't drink enough Zobo. You for rewind and to carry high tension for this newsroom.
My brother, to be very honest, I thought I was going to resume on a very cool note. It's been hectic. Your first day back at work, even though to be honest, I started working from last week Thursday or thereabout. But my first real day back at work, and it's to deal with this whole crisis. It's crazy.
See, so for my like Rotimi Sankara of blessed memory always say, if we are being serious, even that 600,000 is not so impossible. But what it will mean is a huge sacrifice on their part, which they do not want. Because I think
to be honest, it's not realistic. If you do that, I think it's almost 10 trillion naira on just salaries. What's Nigeria's budget? I think about 21 or thereabout. So we can't be spending 50% of our total monies on paying just 5% of the country. It's not going to work.
I agree it's unrealistic, but for this current period, for me, anything less than 152 is unrealistic. And serious, I believe one of these days we need to bring an economist. Let's sit down from the beginning of this administration and start checking the unnecessary things, renovation of this house. First, let's see how much we arrive at.
See,
I don't know if you listened last week.
Let's not even get there. Let's not even
get
there.
You listened last week when this guy Libros, what is Uncle Jimmy, when he was talking about the things he discovered in Abia. So what I learned from Libros is that Uncle Ufuoma, you can't trust any politician in this country. When someone is doing well, we tend to look away. But when someone is doing badly, we are so ego-focused, looking for cracks and holes. As in, these people,
agree.
They are slippery.
I agree.
As in,
But thank you very much for your thoughts. Let's see. There's a WhatsApp message there. That one says, good evening, Ufuoma. The federal government retracts its threatening statement towards the NLC and apologize to them, as well as the masses being represented. If in all honesty, in the new national anthem lyrics, where no man is oppressed is indeed reality, let's regulate inflation by cutting down the salary of politicians in order to upgrade the civil servant salary. Chisco from Ijegun. Chisco, I think I agree with you. That's something I've been saying for a very long time. It's a conversation we need to have. On one hand, we need Nigerian politicians, and government officials to reduce the amount of money they collect. On another hand, we need to reduce the redundancy in our federal civil servants. There's so many persons working for the federal and state civil service that have no business collecting free government money, because that's what they're doing, collecting free government money. So on one hand, if we're saying politicians should do this, let's also agree that a lot of persons who carry handbags and who carry files and go to offices every Monday to Friday, that's if they even go, because that's another conversation, that we need to have that analysis and cut out all those redundant people. Yeah, it is what it is. Let me read the other message from WhatsApp. From Nathaniel from Abuja says, good evening. The challenge is the cost of civil servants. Despite poor performance below 75%, yet they want to earn more than private servants with 100% performance. Even the private people know they work 100% too. But that's a story for another day. The informal sector cannot afford it. Many people, will lose jobs. And I totally agree with you. Even though the president or the federal government says this conversation is also going to be binding on the public sector, trust me, let me not use the word that ordinarily I would have used if I was in the newsroom. But see, it's not going to work. But fair play to some companies they did not actually wait. There are a lot of companies who have not actually waited for this whole minimum conversation to start. As soon as there was the what's it called, petrol subsidy removal, some companies have adjusted, at least I know some. I also know that the one I work for, has actually done quite, maybe not a lot, but of course we've also done a little bit to more or less ameliorate the suffering of people who work here. So there are other companies that have done so and did not wait for this whole minimum wage conversation. Yes, a lot more needs to be done right here and other places. I'm not disputing that fact, but it is what it is. I'll read the final message and then we move on to the second segment of the show. Oh, this one is an episode. Tunde from Oniru here. Let me see. Sincerely speaking, both topics tonight show how pathetic our nation is at the moment. The NLC and the federal government know the game they are playing. The NLC's demand is ridiculous and unrealistic. More so, it will shoot up the already hyperinflation. I totally agree with you. Back in the day when all of these minimum wage used to be a thing, in at least when I started having sense, in the early 90s and all of that. As soon as these increases are made, it starts reflecting on the prices of things in the market. Whether you're a civil servant or not, it just is what it is. Okay, people, I wished actually that we had more time, to talk about this. But of course, it's been the conversation all day. I would have really loved for us to talk about that national anthem thingy, but we do not have time. So we're going to quickly move on to the next segment of the show, which is brought to you courtesy of the Lagos State Government. And as you know, on this segment of the show, we try to showcase some of the things that the Lagos State Government has been trying to do, or has been doing, I should say, to ensure that all of you Lagosians residing in Lagos, or even those of you who have jackpad, but you still have your families here, they can benefit from a few things here and there. Before we go into the conversation for today, which has to do with the Lagos State Government launching new boats to ease, of course, transportation on water. By the way, there's no 25% rebate again, in case you missed that story from our news or from the Lagos State Government. But it's been on since February or thereabouts last year. Almost a year and a half from the Lagos State Government, you will say they have tried. Can they do more? Yes, but it is what it is, like I always say. The government of Lagos is set to power 40,000 homes with electricity from solid waste. That's one of the stories we brought to you last week. We also told you that the Oshodi traders risk shop demolition after July the 31st. I hope it's not when that happens by July the 31st. Now people will start, complaining that they were not told or notices were not given, because Nigerians were quick to say that. The Lagos State Government also plans to resuscitate 5 mini waterworks. And the governor of the state has also raised workers' subvention to 1 billion naira. And the state government reintegrated 11,957, that's almost 12,000, out of school kids through Project Zero program. And the governor commissioned 15 new ferries at Badore, which is, of course, one of the conversations we're going to have right now, as part of efforts to enhance the daily transit experience for residents through safer, faster, and more comfortable trips. Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, Your Excellency, sir, sorry, it was just a slip of the tongue. I did not mean to murder your name. Last week, he added 15 omnibus boats to the state's maritime transportation system. The 15 boats with a capacity of 40 passengers per trip was launched by the governor at Badore Ferry Terminal in Ajah. The boats are all manufactured in Lagos at a factory close to the ferry terminal. Now, I heard this news last week. I really didn't follow it that much because I blocked my ears from everything news. I don't want to affect my head. But I think this is a great one, knowing that, of course, these boats were manufactured right here in Lagos. You know how much that must have saved the government if they had tried to go import it. Governor Sanwo-Olu at the launch said the commission 15 boats, first phase of the planned 25 boats to be added to the fleet. Brilliant, if you ask me. According to him, the expansion of the water transport infrastructure is meant to achieve a more efficient, sustainable, and accessible transportation system, reflecting the government's unwavering dedication to progress and innovation. Well, it's just been me doing all the talking. Let's hear from the governor himself what he said at that lunch.
We're handing over to all the people in our marine transportation 15 brand new acquired ferries, all at 40-seater, as part of the phase 1, because there's a second phase is supposed to be a total of 25, but given the urgency of where we are and the fact we need to be able to demonstrate it, that backward integration is possible in our country. We don't need, because the last ones that we launched in this same facility about 2 years ago were all imported ferries. All of them, about 22 of them, were all imported ferries. So I'm happy here that the ferries that we're handing over today are all done locally. And like everybody has testified to it, it's the best in class, and it's something that we all truly just need to be proud of. And like I said, in our team's agenda, traffic and transportation falls directly in the remit of what we're doing here today. It's only when we have an efficient, effective, and a reliable public transportation system that the economy of the city can grow, that people can see economic value, that people can have predictable journey, that people can move from one point or the other. This morning, I'm happy to say that it took us 27 minutes precisely from the Falomo jetty to get in here. If we had gone on the well put together Lekki Epe Expressway, which we're doing a lot of work on, it will take us nothing less than 50 to 1 hour. But that journey, being on water transportation, took us less than 30 minutes, 27 minutes, because I was checking the time. And so you can imagine what the benefit of that is to the people of Lagos. What reducing your time, the cost of movement, the cost of transportation, and how long it takes you to commute from one part to the other, and how that will be significantly reduced from this jetty that we have to cross over to Ibeshi, which is in Ikurudu. It's less than 30 minutes. In fact, it's about 15 minutes to just cross to Ibeshi. You can imagine if you need to go and traverse, from here and going by road to Ibeshi, it will take you nothing less than an hour, 45 minutes. So that's the power of connectivity. That's the power of what we're doing here today. And that's the power of ensuring that economics and businesses can grow and thrive. And we're not just doing it. We're doing it because we know too well that over 15 local government of the old 20, meaning that almost out of 57, almost 42 local government and LCDs in Lagos, in one form or the other, have water running around them. So that's a significant area. And the beauty of it is now that with LASWA, our waterways transportation system is reliable, is comfortable, is available, and is very, very safe. In the last year or so, LASWA alone has distributed close to 20,000 free vests, life jacket vests, exactly, free of charge. Free of charge. Over 20,000 LASWA has distributed, meaning that you know that you need to have the safety component before you board any of our ferries. And I want to also talk to the private ferry operators. Please listen to your regulators. When they give you a time that you cannot fly on the waterways again, please stick with those regulated time. All of the unfortunate 1 or 2 fatality accidents that we have had on the waterways in the last 1 year are people that have not listened to the rules. There are people that have not kept to the rules of engagement, that beyond a certain time, you cannot ferry people from one part or the other again. You should not let economic benefit alone be the reasons why we are doing the unsafe mode of transportation, and you are putting the life of your passengers at risk. So we want to use this occasion once again to tell NIWA, to tell LASWA that we must enforce those rules no matter who it is. Once the time that we have set is reached, we cannot allow anybody to move on the waterways, and ensure that everybody goes on the water transport with the necessary safety gadget, which is the life jackets that must be worn.
Yes, you must wear life jackets. It is mandatory. It would most likely not be 100%, assurance, but it could end up being the difference between you and death. So, like the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, just mentioned, of course, his speech after the launch of the 15 omnibus boats at Badore last week. You must wear. It's like wearing seat belts too in your car. Sometimes I see people not wanting to. Well, one of the rules is in my car, if you don't wear seat belts, you will come down. It's a rule. I lost a colleague some years ago because he wasn't wearing seat belts. Car he was in from Abuja to Minna, somersaulted. His sister was driving. Sister just had scratches. He had his spinal cord broken and was in bed for 5 years before he died. So it's not something to joke with. Just the same way you get into your car and you wear seat belts, if you get into boats on any of the maritime areas in Lagos, make sure you have your life jackets. It is mandatory. And of course, I would leave it at that. Let me see if I can take one or two more messages. I'm sure quite a number of messages are most likely not talking about the boats, that were launched. And like the governor said, it's 25 that are planned. We have 15 now, so 10 to go. But let's see if I can take one or two more messages from conversations we had earlier on the show where we talked about the whole strike and a little bit of the NLC conversation. Let's see. My name is... Okay. Good evening. The labor union should insist that it's either the senators reduce their salaries by 60% or they increase rival civil servant salary. Parts from Oju Elegba. It's easier said than done. Trust me, I think I heard it was my colleague earlier today that was talking about the bill, that was flying around last week, where they asking the writer was asking for regional government. Trust me, it's easy for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for that referendum or bill rather to pass through Nigeria's National Assembly. It's not going to happen. But anyway, we're winding down. Unfortunately, not so much time on the show. This is how much time can allow us on the newsroom this week. But I'll be back, hopefully, next week, Monday, from the 6:15 p.m. hour for another conversation that hopefully will not be about strikers. Hopefully, it would have been called off. Hopefully, government would have agreed to pay workers something they can take home that is not 60,000 per month. On behalf of my producers, Emmanuel Onwoka and Precious Nena Okon, who, by the way, did an amazing job this morning covering the NLC strike. Hopefully, we're going to try to do more tomorrow. I say thank you for listening to the newsroom. I'll be here Sunday, 9 p.m. for Rewind. All you old school music lovers, tune in. 9 p.m. on Sunday. I'm out.
Meals have a way of taking us on a journey. And when you add
99.3 Nigeria Info, we are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.